what I said, game ones, we get into it next. We'll break down the Eastern Conference Finals and see what happened last night. We get into all that good stuff next on Beyond the Locker Room. What a night at the Garden. Game one, Eastern Conference Finals, Knicks Cavaliers. It started off a bit sleepy, a little bit of a struggle for the Knicks at first. They kind of couldn't figure out what they're doing. I'll get into what my thoughts were, why this played out the way it did. But obviously this series is not looked at as compelling, let's put it that way, as the Western Conference Finals. I have a locker room take on that for a second. I think some of you might know what it is if you follow me on Instagram. But as far as the Eastern Conference Finals go, I'm going to break it down on kind of what I think happened from the Cleveland side of things, what happened from the Knicks side of things, and where do we go from here. So, from the Cavaliers' perspective, I think what you're looking at is the classic example of a team that's played a long series, obviously a 7-game series. They're playing off fumes. They're sharp initially because they got the rhythm going, and then as the game went on, to some extent, fatigue set in. You'll see it in this case with 50-50 balls, loose balls, not being able to secure rebounds. Those are the type of things that show when you have fatigue, and it seemed like it started to play itself out as the second half. I would say second half, and more so the fourth quarter, which is really where the collapse happened. They were really playing on adrenaline, and once the Knicks got rhythm going, it got tight. Their fatigue played into it. Their tightness played into it. They were playing with so much more. The word of the day, the word du jour these days in basketball is force. They played with force for three quarters and change, and then for an 8:22 mark, a 22-point lead they had, and it all fell apart. And here's the good things that Cleveland did. They were moving the ball around well. They were using their size as they should. For the most part, I thought Mobley played a very good game. It was one of the few times where he was really engaged from start to almost finish. But he was really good. I thought Allen wasn't bad, but definitely Mobley stood out to me. And they're using their front court as they should be. They're 7-footers. They should be doing that because the Knicks, for the most part, only play at one big at a time. And they were very strategic on certain things. I like how they kept New York out of their rhythm by fouling Mitchell Robinson, a tactic the Pacers employed last year, or the 2 times they played in the last couple of years. And I thought, it's funny, it's really strange that it had not been used that much so far in these playoffs. But here we go, game one, Shaka Mitchell came, or I guess Haka Mitchell, I guess is what you want to call it. So it came into play, and it kind of worked out overall to their benefit. I think. What I do like, obviously Mitchell did what superstar players should do: set the tone from early. He was aggressive, attacking, and getting to the rim and getting inside and really causing havoc. Had some beautiful finishes around the hoop with that Euro step. And they kind of got away from him, I think, in the second half a little bit. I know a lot of it was collapsing defenses, and therefore the shooters like Merrill and Strus got into the mix, which is what you want. But you can't forget about him, and I think they kind of did forget about him. And by the time they got back to him, it was almost too late. But that's so if you're Cleveland, we'll get into what they got to do next, and if they can. But let's get into the second half of this equation. The New York Knickerbockers. Wow, I tell you, if this team might be a team of destiny. Who knows, man? This might be the team of destiny. What we saw. With 8:22 left, I believe, down 22, Brunson got into a rhythm. Now, how did he get into the rhythm? Well, one thing they did was, and this is something that drives me crazy with teams when it comes to pick and rolls, we don't always need a pick and roll every single time, guys. A brush screen would do to get the guy you want, moving your own guy you want to get the ball to around different screens and working through traffic to get him to the guy you want to get to. And force the defense to move and shift as well, too. They were able to get Brunson on Harden almost at every possession from the 8:22 mark on. Now, I'm sitting here, if I'm Cleveland, I'm sitting here going like, dude, like you can't let Brunson just be dribbling, pitter-pattering for about 15, 20 seconds, which ironically is the James Harden style play. And he went to work on Harden, getting everything he wanted: 3-point shots, attacking the hoop, fouls, getting in the lane. They opened up shots for OG and others. Like, it was He was having his way with everything. And it's like, at some point, you got to say, okay, I get it. New York has a very dangerous team out there at the moment, but which, by the way, good shot on Mike Brown by putting Shamet in the game instead of having Hart out there, because Hart, you could double off a Hart. But when Shamet's out there, you saw him hit a big three, in the overtime. You can't have him, if he's out there, you can't have guys holding, kind of like just partially in the lane, edging or shading towards Brunson. So that was interesting. I will also say, going back to the Cleveland side, and I guess let me put it in the perspective of the Knicks. The Knicks have been running the offense pretty much since Game 4, I believe it is, or Game 5 against Game 4, I think, against the Hawks, through Cat. What they did, Cleveland did a great job of gumming up the works with Cat, with that offense with Cat, the hub, playing the passing lanes, really gumming up. There's one part there where the Cat had 3 attempts trying to get the ball to Brunson at the 3-point line. It was difficult enough, and they really did a good job from a scouting standpoint. So shouts out to Atkinson, the coaching staff. But as much as I give them props on that end of the floor, on that end of the spectrum, what they did in the last 8 minutes and change, man, like, I get it. You don't want to leave it 3-point shooters open, but you can't let Brunson out there just beat and get into a rhythm. The moment he got to 9 or 10, I got to figure I got to change my, he changed the personnel to some extent. He got Wade back in the game. But I think at that point it was too late. And the thing is, we're at a position now, and I heard, but give credit where credit's due. I heard Bomani Jones mention this on his podcast last week, and I think he's actually right. It's crossed my mind a bit too. We're getting to the stage now where Harden might be unplayable in certain circumstances at this point. He's not giving anything you offensively. Like, his offense is like, he's out there chucking shots, trying to draw fouls. He can't really be as many out the dribble as the competition gets better, as the intensity gets much more, the intensity picks up. And so you're sitting there, okay, well, we usually get 20, 24 points from him, and, he's going to give you like 7, 8 assists. That ain't happening. So, obviously defensively in space, he's atrocious. Now, I'll give him credit. As a post defender, he's actually pretty good. He's got quick hands, and he's strong as a mule. He's like 6'5", 220, 230, built like a tank. So he's not a guy you can move in the post. That's the reason why in some ways he was hidden against the Raptors series, because the Raptors big wings don't want to deal with Harden in that sense, because he's not a good person to post up. They wanted to get Mitchell. The perfect example of that was in Game 6, which was the RJ miracle. That game, if you recall, the possession at the end of regulation, where Scotty they come up the timeout, they were trying to get to Mitchell. They refused. Cleveland refused any switches, and he had to stay on Harden. And then it was a quick trap on Scotty when he made his move. The ball's in Shed's hands with a grenade, and he shoots it, pretty much in the air on the baseline brick. We go into overtime. But that was what Toronto was doing throughout the series, trying to find ways to get on the small guards for RJ and for Scotty. Detroit was doing the same thing with Cade. But now, for the first time in a playoff series this year, Cleveland has to deal with one of these darting small guards that have quick bursts and shiftiness that will give Harden problems in space. And now you see it's becoming very apparent he's having difficulties out there. And I don't know. That's gonna be if I'm Atkinson, man, and it's a game that's tight again, and it's like 5 minutes left, I can't have him out there, man. I can't. I gotta put the hook on him, and you got the Apollo. If you all know the Apollo in this case theater, yeah, get the cane out, get the hook, man. He gotta go, because this is becoming very unbearable as a team for him, because he's not giving me anything. He's not giving me anything really worthwhile or meaty on offense. So the Knicks got into a rhythm. They are also seen a bit rusty, to be fair, being like 7, 8, 9 days off. So the Knicks, you also have to consider that too. But boy, did they, they went back to old school Brunson offense, and spread it out, and they found something here. Now, do I think they should be going through that throughout the whole series? No, but I think that's a great offense to have. To break glass in case of an emergency situation, which was the case, last night. I think that's something they have in their bag. If they need to go to it when they have some dry spells, they know they can go to that. So we'll see. That's moving forward. The Knicks right now, obviously, they seem like a team of destiny to some extent. You come down from 22 down with 8:22 left to go in the game. I mean, literally the shot that Merrill had to win the game in regulation, it goes halfway down the rim and it coughs right back up. Like the Garden Ghost said, no, not tonight. So you got to start wondering, boy, if you're sitting here watching it in your couch like me, it's like, maybe there's something going on here. Maybe there's something more to it, something in the elixir that's going on here, man. Because the Knicks seem like they could do no wrong these days. So if you're New York, now you kind of found out some things you could that work for you. You found some lineups that work for you. All you just have to do is find a way to get Cat going. The perimeter guys are getting wherever they want. Bridges had 18 or 20. OG played well. I said before, Shamet hit some big shots. So they're they're getting what they want on the perimeter. Can they find ways to get Cat going? If they do, it's a wrap. As far as Cleveland goes, I tell you, I said it. I tweeted last night, man. I've seen series like this before. Sometimes when you don't get game one on the road, man, especially a team that is not known for having a lot of to use Mick Foley for all your wrestling fans, a lot of testicular fortitude. Let's put it that way, in a colorful way. I don't know if Cleveland comes back from this, man. Props to them if they do, but I don't know, man. This could be a quick series based on what happened last night. If you're Cleveland, let me just give you, Cleveland fans, Cleveland lovers, I would say this. More Mitchell, put the quick hook on Harden when necessary if it's getting tight for those possessions. I think you found something with Mobley as well, too. I think if you could get down, get him down, let him rim run as quickly as possible to get quick post-ups if they're going to play one of the small forwards. It seems like OG gets the assignment for the most part. As strong as OG is, he's still 6'8". He's not 7 feet. Play like you're 7 feet, get down there and go in there quickly for some quick baskets, which he was doing and being very active. You need more from Jarrett Allen on the rebounding. That he got to come alive, man. I know he's tussling with Cat a lot of times, and when I say tussling, when it comes to Cat, that is the appropriate term. But he got to find a way to put his imprint on this game a bit more, and Mitchell has to be, I think, even more aggressive, like uber aggressive at this point, to put Brunson and these guards, especially Brunson, in as much foul trouble as possible. That's what I'm seeing right now. We'll see. Game 2 is going to be fascinating on Thursday. We'll see how it plays out in the Garden. The Garden was live. That's one thing to say. You could be a Knicks hater, a Knicks lover, but boy, there's nothing quite like watching a playoff game, especially of these type of circumstances, these type of stakes at the Garden, man. It's a fantastic watch, man. It looks great on TV. I'll leave it there, folks, man, on that front, but I'm going to do one last piece of it because I think we got to talk about it again. My locker room take. I'm going to make this quick and simple. I said it on IG. I'll say it here. The Wemby era has begun in earnest. Broussard mentioned something on First Things First the other day, yesterday, about announcement games. He had 4 of them since his lifetime, and I kind of knew which 4 they were. Magic Johnson's rookie season, Lakers against the Sixers, closeout game, the captain's out. That's where the classic line comes when Magic steps on the bus and says, "Never fear, Magic's here." Magic goes in there, 42-11 or 42-12, wherever it is, 5 or 6 assists, unbelievable. And the Magic story essentially begins in earnest as like, oh, this is the dude. Of course, the next one was where Larry Bird said in the Garden, even though Boston swept them, the 63 points by Jordan in the Garden. He said, that was gone in tennis shoes or basketball shoes. That's where that great quote comes from. Jordan was hitting everything in sight. I remember the kid watching that game. Unreal. So I've been around in some form or fashion for all these games. Of course, as a Pistons fan, I know this one well. Watching this one in my bedroom in awe. Could not believe what I was seeing. The vaunted Pistons team that had been in Eastern Conference championships time and time again, had won a title, had the strap at one point, went the back-to-back finals, and was getting taken down by a 22-year-old scoring, I think when it's all said and done, 28 points in a row. The thing about it was, when it was happening, I didn't realize, I think Marv Albert was in, those guys were doing the game. I didn't even realize that was how many he'd scored at the time when LeBron did that. And I was like, wait, he scored how many in a row? It's like, yo, at that point there, man, I got to ask Larry Brown some questions, man. Like, what the hell are we doing out here? Anyways, that's a whole other discussion for another day, boy. You need like an oral history of that game. That series is a weird series, but let's leave it there at that. But that was the next coming out party. And of course, what we saw on Tuesday night, Big Vic, the future is here. And let me tell you something. I told you also, said that man sees Chet. It's on site. And some of y'all probably didn't want to believe you're beyond, but I'm just telling you, it's on site. And that man that man has help for Chet Holmgren. Chet, I did appreciate Chet giving the nod at the end of the game where he realized, all right, it's going to be on like this. Woo. But Chet, man, you got to realize, man, you might not want to be part of this war, but you got no choice. You in it, my friend. And you got to kind of, you got to knuckle up. Like, this is it, man. Because, for J-Dub and Caruso to be taking the assignment, we're all once they figured out, like, my man got into his Olajuwon bag and said, here, man, let me just put the big paw out here. And then I just got to just pivot, boom, lay up or dunk on 6'6" dudes or 6'8" dudes. That's your man. You can't, that is your assignment. That's on you, Chet. So we'll see what comes out of Chet, what comes out of the MVP, because he got a little taste of it too. So we'll see. He started coming back late in the game and also in the overtime where he realized he can't be playing with the ball with this bunch. I said before, the physicality of those guards are going to start wearing on him. He needs to be attacking. He changes his tempo. Good move on SGA. We'll see how he does in game 2. He tends to bounce back really well. But let me tell you, they ain't win the series unless they get something more out of Chet. And Hartenstein right now cannot be playing on the court at the same time as Wemby. Cannot. Because all Wemby's going to do is take him as the cover and just have one foot in the lane, waiting for anyone that comes down there. Like a big condor waiting to just swat anything out of there, man. So we'll see. That's two interesting conference finals, man, for sure. Obviously, I was waiting for the Western Conference one, but the Eastern Conference one might be something intriguing as well, too. Anyway, guys, we'll talk later on. You know where to find me as always. On X, on Instagram, on Facebook, and also on Blue Sky, and right here on YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You check me out anytime. Love the comments and support, guys. Keep it up. I enjoy the discussion. Anyways, man, as always, take care. Keep it locked. Peace.